One story that has dominated Formula One's recent news cycle has been AlphaTauri's ever-changing lineup situation for the 2023 season. And the driver who has been mentioned numerous times is Colton Herta, who is as close to making the team as he has ever been. So, without further ado, let's take a deep dive into how Red Bull is backing the American, what the obstacles to his F1 ascension are, and how the FIA holds all the cards. Let's jump straight into it. Red Bull has agreed to let Gasly join Alpine as a replacement for Fernando Alonso, freeing up a seat at AlphaTauri. Christian Horner has since suggested that American driver Colton Herta is the only option to replace Gasly, but added that Red Bull will not release the Frenchman if the IndyCar star is unable to fill the seat, which would leave Alpine searching for another driver. The problem is that Herta is ineligible for a super license under the current point system, and rival team executives have asserted that the FIA should stick to the rules and not make an exception for force majeure. More importantly, F1 CEO Stefano Domenicali confirmed that he agrees and is eager to see the process followed. Domenicali met with FIA President Mohammed bin Sulayem in Zandvoort last week to discuss the Herta situation. Intriguingly, Horner confirmed that Herta is a potential future RBR driver if he proves himself at AlphaTauri. I think he's an exciting talent. He's a younger American guy that has been a standout talent in the US, so it'll be very interesting to see how he performs in F1. And F1 obviously is growing in popularity in the US market at the moment, and to have a successful US driver could be very interesting. It could be interesting for us in the long term. I mean, we've got contracts with our existing drivers, but AlphaTauri or Toro Rosso, they've produced a great stable of drivers for us to draw upon, whether it be Sebastian Vettel or Max Verstappen or Daniel Ricciardo over the years. And regarding the super license situation, Horner said, "I think that's an FIA issue. We just need clarity for what is the situation regarding driver points, which hopefully will come sooner rather than later, because that plays a key role obviously in the driver merry-go-round. Obviously, in terms of clarification on points for a driver looking to come to F1, you've got to know that you've got options, and if that option isn't there, then the other triggers are not going to come into play." F1 has been looking for a US driver to join the grid for the first time since 2016, with the sport gaining massive popularity in the United States thanks to the Netflix series Drive to Survive. With 400,000 spectators in 2021, the Circuit of the Americas hosted the most attended F1 race in history, while the sport's US television audience has increased by 40% since the 2020 season. In just 3 years, F1's valuation has risen from an estimated $8 billion to $13 billion, with growth in the United States seen as a major factor, and the country will be rewarded with 3 Grand Prix next year. In addition to the COTA, Miami, and Las Vegas races, American fans may be able to cheer on a homegrown driver for the first time if Herta obtains the super license he needs. Of course, it's not just Herta's marketability that makes him appealing to Red Bull. He has 7 wins and 8 pole positions since joining the IndyCar series full-time in 2019, and ran 162 laps with McLaren at the Portimao circuit over 2 days of testing. Herta impressed McLaren during his 2-day test, not only with his speed but also with his quick adaptation to the new formula. When asked if he was confident that he'd be competitive in F1 after the 2-day test, Herta said, yes. You can't say no to that question, otherwise you wouldn't be a professional driver. So yeah, I do think I'm fast enough. Whether they agree, I guess time will tell, and hopefully I can get more chances in the car and hopefully I can show it. Red Bull understands that much of America and the F1 paddock are excited about the prospect of Herta joining the sport, and it wants to be clear that it is and has been pushing to give him that chance. But Herta needed 2 other teams to refuse to stand in his way for that to happen. The first is self-evident, Andretti Motorsport. Herta is the team's future in IndyCar, but he has always wanted to race in Formula One. He began on the European single-seater ladder and has openly expressed his desire to compete on the F1 grid. So Andretti agreed to let Herta leave if he was offered an F1 seat, and it had already been doing its part to help him advance his career in that way. Not only was there interest in an Andretti entry, but Herta was allowed to sign a deal with McLaren to test the 2021 car this year, as we noted previously. That agreement, it turns out, also included options on Herta for the next 2 years. There were no contractual obligations on either side, but the framework was in place, which meant McLaren had to be willing to release the Californian to Red Bull. And to understand why McLaren would be willing to do so, consider a driver with whom Herta has been competing for F1 attention at Andreas Seidel's team, Pato O'Ward. O'Ward got to test the 2021 car in Abu Dhabi at the end of last year and has been hoping for more opportunities, but his entire McLaren career has been made possible by Marco. Similarly to Herta, Red Bull signed Award to its junior program in 2019 with the intention of putting him in the Toro Rosso, but initial FIA feedback that he would be eligible for a super license proved to be misleading. So Red Bull supported Award for Formula 2 weekend and then a Super Formula seat before Marco agreed to let him go early to join McLaren's IndyCar team after Zach Brown expressed an interest. In some ways, the roles have been reversed. It remains to be seen whether the same issues regarding a super license will arise, but with McLaren having secured Oscar Piastri's signature for 2023 onwards, there is no immediate opportunity for Herta, and holding on to his rights on a just-in-case basis would potentially prevent him from ever racing in F1. As Zach Brown stated on Friday in Zandvoort, "We would never want to hold a driver back. Racing drivers want to drive. I think it's admirable that someone like Oscar sits out a year. We've seen Esteban Ocon sit out a year, but we want to encourage racing drivers to race." As a result, McLaren is another team that agrees with Red Bull's strategy, owing Marco a favor and, no doubt, keen to avoid any other backlash after dropping the hugely popular Daniel Ricciardo. Which just leaves Alpine. Alpine, as the final link in the chain, cannot prevent Red Bull from pursuing Herta if the super license is forthcoming, but it would create an interesting situation if it looked elsewhere for Fernando Alonso's replacement. Pierre Gasly is on the list and will be released if Herta joins, but sources say Alpine wants to keep its options open at this point. It's unclear whether this is a negotiating tactic to pay Red Bull as little as possible or a genuine sign of uncertainty, but the French constructor wouldn't be foolish to take their time. Alpine, after all, has the most competitive seat open to Gasly if he's available. If Gasly is confirmed, the circle would be completed by Piastri being released early to McLaren. He already serves as a reserve driver for both McLaren and Alpine and could continue to do so if necessary, but he would be able to better prepare for 2023 and carry out some potential FP1 running for his new team as a rookie. Compensation may be required, but Alpine will be interested if it has paid Red Bull for Gasly, and Red Bull will be interested if it has paid McLaren for Herta, who will be paying for Piastri, so perhaps very little will change hands after all. Of course, nothing can be confirmed until the FIA makes a decision, and for the time being, the buzz around the paddock is just that, a buzz. In fact, the speculation is so intense that Herta stated during the Portland weekend that he has stopped reading the news. He also instructed his father, who serves as his agent, not to brief him on any discussions and to leave him alone to complete the final 2 IndyCar races of the season. There is nothing I want to talk about right now. I just want to focus on these last 2 weekends and have a little bit of time to decompress and figure out what's going on during the offseason. I told my dad, he's been handling all my management things. I told him, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to deal with it. I just want to finish the season. And then we'll look at the options and see if I have any. And on the subject of becoming a Formula 1 driver, Herta has stated that he would not enter the sport solely to become an F1 driver. It depends on a lot of things. I want to be happy about where I am, where I'm living, the team I'm with. I just want to be comfortable. There's a lot of different factors that go into making a decision of when you do switch teams, and it's nothing I've started delving into just yet. I wouldn't just go there to be there. I would need to understand exactly what I was getting into, which I don't right now. So we just have to wait and see what options really exist for me. So what are your thoughts? Will the FIA complete the circle by making an exception and issuing a super license to Colton Herta? How well do you think the American will perform if it happens and he makes it to AlphaTauri? Let us know in the comments section down below. And if you enjoyed the video, consider liking and subscribing. It helps us out a lot.